Why do we give up? The answer is simple. Fear. But what is it we fear? The work or the lack of a reward? Fear can break us when we give into it. Or it can be the obstacle we take on to become better. Through facing our fears, we can be born again.
Hey Geekscapists! So it is almost time for us to return to Hell's Kitchen alongside Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. Returning alongside them are Deborah Ann Wall, Eldon Hinson, Wilson Bethel, and John Barenthal. Years ago, right here on Geekscape TV, I, filmmaker/storyteller, Garrett Briones, not just a guy, the guy, talked about why I thought that original Netflix Daredevil show was a show without fear. At the time, we only had one brief appearance by the character in the wider MCU and were eagerly awaiting his next steps as well as his own project to lead. And about 3 years after that video's release, what even is time? We have Daredevil Born Again. We've seen bits and pieces of the series, unless you're like me and you refuse to watch trailers, and have a vague idea that the main thrust of the show will be about Matt and Fisk trying to go about their business while staying out of each other's way. Beyond that, we don't know too much. Besides returning cast members, we don't know how much this will tie into the original series. What happened between the end of Season 3 and the beginning of this new series? What were characters up to during the blip? What's Frank Castle been up to? Has Zex been locked up for these last 6+ years? Okay, whoa. Slow down. Today, we're just going to focus on old Hornhead himself, and maybe a little Kingpin, and look at his various appearances so far in the MCU. There's been a slow integration of the Daredevil corner of the Marvel Universe into the wider MCU. Today, we're going to go through those appearances. We're going to see what we can find, what we can dig under the surface and glean from all these appearances and what they might tell us about what to expect from Daredevil Born Again. So, without further ado, in 2021's Spider-Man No Way Home, Peter Parker found himself in legal trouble after being framed for crimes Mysterio committed. How did Peter get out of this predicament, you might ask? Well, as we all hoped, he got himself a really good lawyer. Our fearless lawyer is able to clear Peter's name, but he can't change the public's opinion of him overnight. So what does this scene, Charlie Cox's return as Matt after 3 long years, tell us about where Matt is, maybe in his civilian life, in his life as a lawyer? We can see that he's fully committed to being Matt Murdock again, after spending a whole season shambling around declaring that Matt Murdock was dead and that he was only Daredevil. Yes, we saw him put on that suit and tie in Season 3, but that felt like a means to an end. This feels like the lawyer we saw in the first 2 seasons, as well as the Defenders, but more at ease and, I say more laid back. You know, given how Season 3 of Daredevil ended and what we're seeing in No Way Home, Matt seems like he's in a pretty good place, and I don't think that there's a better example of that than his next appearance, which was less than a year later in She-Hulk Attorney at Law, a great show. We follow the exploits of lawyer-turned-superhero Jennifer Walters. Early on in the season, we get a tease that our horned hero will be making his presence known. And he definitely does that, starting off as an opponent in the courtroom to Jen, and then an ally to She-Hulk. After a rocky start, the two become quite the effective team. In a few different ways. She-Hulk has a lighter, more upbeat feel to it than the original Daredevil show. Sure, the original show had its fair share of levity, and it wasn't uncommon to see Matt smile, but we're getting both of those things in abundance with this appearance. When I'm looking at how Matt comes off in this episode, I think it's fully in line with the journey he went through in that original series. This is a man who, for now, has conquered his demons and has come through this baptism by fire on the other side, a better, more at ease man. This characterization really reminds me of the Mark Waid and Chris Samnee run on Daredevil, where, look, Matt has been through some crap, some awful things, but he's choosing to put on this more lively and happy demeanor and face. He's doing that for the public. He's doing that to other people. He doesn't need to continue to wallow in these horrible feelings that he has. What this appearance really feels like to me is a throwback to how Daredevil originally debuted as, this swashbuckling hero that was created by Stan Lee and Bill Everett, down to one important thing, and yes, we got to talk about that costume. This is the first time we've seen Charlie wearing a Daredevil suit since the Defenders in 2017. That's 5 long years, folks! For this appearance, we get a suit that's the same design as his previous costumes, but with the colors and look of Daredevil's original yellow and red suit. In universe, we know that this outfit is made by Luke Jacobson, as opposed to Melvin Potter, who had created Matt's red suit, as well as a suit that was worn by Dex to frame Daredevil. I bring up that last bit because I like to think that this was a conscious decision on Matt's part. We know, going by a later appearance, I'll get to that in a bit, that Matt went back to using his red suit designed by Melvin Potter. But with all the harm done with that particular suit, I like to think that Matt reached out to Luke to make him a few different versions of his suit to move forward from the actions associated with that iteration of the red look. This suit evokes the acrobatic origins of Daredevil and feels more classically heroic. It fits with the color scheme of the show and is in tune with the overall vibe. Folks, full disclosure, I love this episode. It might be my favorite single episode of any Disney Plus MCU show. It feels like when you're reading a comic book and another superhero guest stars in that comic book where, even down to they fight and then they go and kick butt together, it just has that beautiful comic feel. I love getting to see Matt be more jovial. And here's the thing, just because he's cracking jokes doesn't mean he's not still in line with his previous characterization. This isn't a 180, this is the same character just in a different situation. For me personally, Daredevil is 3 things in one. He is a swashbuckling hero, he is a street-level vigilante, and he is a skilled ninja. Now, we've gotten a lot of those last 2, especially in the original series, so it was nice to get that first one at the foreground of an episode. Plus, this appearance is a Daredevil hallway fight, and thinking you can beat Daredevil in a hallway is like trying to out-wrestle Paul London. It's just not going to happen, brother man. Now, this is a video primarily about Daredevil, but I feel like we can't talk about him without talking about his bitter rival, the Kingpin. The same week Charlie Cox returned to the role of Matt Murdock in No Way Home, we got our confirmation via photo in the penultimate episode of Hawkeye that Vincent D'Onofrio would be returning to the role of Wilson Fisk. What does this episode and Fisk's overall inclusion in the series tell us about what kind of role he's going to play in the MCU? Oh boy, a lot. First off, Wilson still got that swagger. I mean, come on, man, we got the classic cane up in here. We got a Hawaiian shirt under an all-white fit pulled straight from the comics, might I add you. Like, pop off, King! Pen. Okay, really what this series tells us is that Wilson had a paternal relationship with Maya Lopez, aka Echo, in the background of the original show. It adds to Wilson and gives a look at him in a way that we really only saw glimpses of with his manipulation of Dex. This is a much warmer of a relationship, though he still uses Maya as a weapon and manipulates her to serve his needs. But it makes complete sense that Fisk would have her in his back pocket and keep her hidden from what he was getting up to in the original series. We'll get back to this relationship in our next chapter. Secondly, what the series gets to is something that's ingrained in the eternal Daredevil Kingpin war. Unless Matt crosses the line he will never cross, Fisk will always find a way back to the streets of Hell's Kitchen. Fisk is back to business as usual, linked up with a new crew and once again cementing himself as the man to beat if you want to make a name for yourself in the criminal underbelly of New York City. Even after corrupting the FBI and getting that business from Matt in the season 3 finale, Fisk is just right back where he started in the kingdom he built for himself. These 2 men are meant to do this dance forever. 2024's Echo follows Maya Lopez after the events of Hawkeye, leaving her life of crime behind after learning about the hand Fisk had in her father's death, and with her thinking that she had killed Wilson after shooting him point blank. Besides fleshing out Maya and kind of shining a light on her culture through her familial connections, this series also gives us more backstory and detail on what this kind of seemingly paternal relationship is between Fisk and Maya. On the Fisk side of things, we learn of this relationship that he's had before, during, and after the events of Daredevil. What does this connection illuminate about Fisk? Well, I believe it speaks to his yearning for connection and acceptance. While there's some cards he holds close to his chest, Wilson is more than comfortable being the kingpin around Maya. It took him a while to show this side to even his beloved Vanessa, but he's more than eager to bring Maya into this world she briefly glimpsed through her father. By series' end, Maya has tried to show Wilson, through her newfound abilities, that he can change, much like she has chosen to, and move on from the burden of their past. And we see that Wilson has taken that to heart, trying his hand at a new approach to save his city. This series features Wilson heavily, which makes sense, obviously, because of that relationship we just talked about with Maya. But you're probably asking yourself, but Garrett, this is a Daredevil video. Where's Daredevil? Where's the Daredevil? First off, calm down. Relax. This show features a very fun and unique appearance by Daredevil, and one that shows him in a new light that we have yet to see thus far. In Echo's first episode, we see Maya integrate herself into Fisk's crime operation, and as she gets more ingrained into it, she runs headfirst into the devil of Hell's Kitchen. I chose that moniker for Matt in this case because that's what he is, a devil, a demon, vengeance incarnate. This scene is fully from the POV of Maya and her crew, and we get to see Daredevil from their perspective for really the first time. They're going about their criminal activities, and then a horned ninja drops in to give them the business, and only Maya is able to go toe-to-toe with the guy. Not only do we see that Maya is formidable in her own right, it further shows us that Matt has been fighting the good fight since the end of his show. From what I can glean from my research, this scene takes place during the blip. While the world and universe at large were without many of their heroes, Matt Murdock was still fighting the good fight and helping people at a time when they needed hope. The universe is down, but Daredevil got up. And darn it, if that's not Daredevil, then I don't know what is. Daredevil Born Again is not the only show to feature Charlie Cox in his role as Matt Murdock in 2025. The first is the wonderful Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The series, a new take on Spider-Man's early days that combines fresh interpretations of classic characters while celebrating all eras, features Daredevil in its 6th episode, Duel with the Devil, as well as the finale. Off the bat, this appearance has vibes off the chart. Matt wearing an amalgam of his proto-black suit plus the mask of a traditional Daredevil suit looks great. Charlie seamlessly transitions his performance from live action to animation, never missing a beat and exuding the jovial nature that we saw the character exhibit at times in the Netflix series and more so in She-Hulk. This feels like a Matt who's truly getting his vigilante career off the ground in a larger superhero-filled world. This was something that the original show could suggest and play with the ramifications of, but never really got to fully explore. And I would be remiss to not also mention that during the character's confrontation with Spider-Man, the John Pisano theme is playing the whole time, and it's awesome. We take for granted how powerful that theme is at evoking a certain feeling, pulling up all of the emotions we have connected to that music and the images associated with it. I love it. So, what is there to pull from this alternate version of Matt that we could see in the MCU proper? The biggest thing we see is what it could possibly look like seeing Matt interact with other big Marvel New York staples. We've seen Matt Murdock interact with Peter Parker, but this was our first time seeing a Charlie Cox Daredevil interact with Spider-Man. Not only that, but we got to see him looking into Oscorp and what Norman Osborn has going on. It's almost a taste of what we could possibly see going forward with Daredevil fully on the board in the greater MCU. Alright, we've covered all of Matt and Fisk's MCU appearances so far. Now, let's synthesize what we can expect in Born Again. Everything happened. Everything we saw in that previous show 100% happened. These are the same characters, not different versions with a vaguely similar background. No, it all happened. Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk went to war on 2 separate occasions and almost destroyed both of them both times. Nelson Murdock and Page was founded. Matt and Frank Castle became uneasy allies. See you around, Red. Yes, you will, brother. Wilson Fisk killed his father with a hammer. Dex started his path to becoming Bullseye. Stick got his hand cut off at one point. Elektra died and then came back and then died seemingly again. That guy slammed his head on a spike. That happened. Guy who really wanted to play bowling. He got. What else happened? Miss Cardenas! Miss Cardenas! All of that happened. Every single bit of that happened. Second, it's been business as usual for our characters, but it's been 10 years since we met many of them. They're going to be challenged in new and interesting ways. Matt and Fisk have agreed to stay out of each other's way after their 2 wars with one another. The beauty of any Daredevil story is knowing that no matter what they're up to or where they are in life, these 2 men will always, and I do mean always, clash. Whether it's this season or the next, we can expect these 2 to lock horns once again. Something we know definitively that this show is going to do is bring Matt even more into the wider Marvel Cinematic Universe. We even know, an appearance by Yusuf Khan, Kamala Khan's father, will be happening in the show. And, who knows? Anybody could show up. It's New York City. What I will ask, though, that you please speculate responsibly. Don't be going, oh man, Thanos is going to show up at the court. Fourth, we also know this is an ongoing series, so we're not just popping back in for one and done. These characters are back and they are here to stay. Whatever it will be, many people put a lot of hours and hard work into bringing this show to us. I am so unbelievably ready for this show, and I'm ready to meet it on its own terms. I'm not going to compare it to some fourth season that I've had in my head for the last 6+ years. I am excited to just sit down on my couch and fearlessly press play and watch a show that I love be born again. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and let them know that you would like to see more of my team and I here on Geekscape TV. If you want to see what other stuff we're cooking up, you can follow @BachelorClass on the social media that matter, and you can listen to my podcast, Not Just A Guy. I have been Not Just A Guy, the guy, Garrett Briones, and thank you for letting me talk at you. I love that original Daredevil series. I've watched season 1 like 4 to 5 times. I've seen season 2 3 times. I've seen season 3 3 times. That one's my favorite. I think everybody should be watching that show all the time. I woke up early before school to watch that first episode, and the rest is history. I love it. And now I know what your next thought is, being the viewer that you are, digging in deep all the time. You would say now, what does your fiance think about that? Let me ask you something. When I've introduced my fiance to Daredevil, what is she going to say? She's not going to say I made a mistake because she loves Daredevil now. So therefore, I can rewatch Daredevil as much as I want. I can watch it around the house. First off, because I introduced her to it. And second, because I'm the guy. I'm cocky. I don't take no crap from anyone. I rewatch Daredevil anytime I want. I don't have to ask permission like you.